Hi, my name is Anaya Dixon, and this is going to be the Unit 3 Reflection and Evaluation assignment. I am in the Bauhaus group, so we're going to be reflecting over the Futurists. Part 1 asks us to describe first and foremost the performance. How would I describe the performance to someone who had never seen it? I think the performance was beautiful. It was emotional, invoking, it was inspiring. A lot of it had a lot to do with interpretation and trying to emphasize how the futurists reject futurism and all the elements that have to do with the futuristic society while also trying to conform to the binds of art. And they do this by a lot of rhetorical analysis using rhetorical questions, sarcasm, and over emotion when it comes to exaggeration of bodily movements. This is all used to create some sort of emotional inflection to make the reader or the viewer think about the future of art and how it's going to relay back into the lives of the everyday citizen, like in the instance of women and minorities, as they were asking and pondering the questions of the women, the minorities, how are these going to fit into modern art as we see it today? Well, with that use of rhetorical questioning, all of the elements of this piece were dramatic and very emotional. When it comes to the interpretation, how is the art open to interpretation, and how did I interpret the message? As I said before, I interpret it as being a almost call to action, to where people back then did not see art as an evolving, changing figment. The futurists took their piece and they made it seem as though they're calling into being what could be, the future of art, the future of humanity. They're tying together every element of the status quo and relaying it back to the possibilities in the next 40 to 50 years. The futurists saw a reality for people that most of the status quo at the time did not, a future free of oppression and free of expression. We could freely express ourselves in our interpretation both of society and art, because every person would be liberated to see things as he would see them. Therefore, when we go down to number 3, connect and analyze the performance using terms and concepts from the chapters in our books. First and foremost, we have to see rhetorically the analysis that they're trying to give was that the future connects to the present. A lot of what we also see when it comes to movement and empathizing with the current people of the time was that as futurists grew and evolved, they had to utilize their radical empathy to not only feel for the people of the current situation, but also realize that art has to be a voice, a speaking piece, a talking point for people to get the freedom and liberation from oppression that they seek in the status quo. And 4, evaluate the performance. Discuss how well the group incorporated all the textual and physical requirements in this assignment. I think that they did a great job. I loved the syllogism and the synchronization they had of their movements, and I loved the loud, flamboyant acting, especially of the guy in the black shirt. He stuck out and he had a lot of body to him. Presentation was phenomenal. What did they do very, very well was the fact that they really embodied the essence of futurism and how it rejects the modern status quo. And at the same time, if I were to say something that could be improved upon, I think that making a clear distinction between how futurism has evolved in today's time might have been kind of interesting to see, because futurism always calls into the future. How does futurism shape itself, not just from the perspective of those who created the futurist movement in the past, but how does it shape to the present? Would be very interesting. And I give this grade, this group I think deserved a good 100, or at least an A, because they really envisioned the futurist movement to a T. Number 2, group member evaluation. Evaluate the team members each collectively and specifically describe their contributions. When it comes to the group, first of all, let's start with Kennedy. Kennedy was very helpful. She was very sweet and always willing to contribute. She did a lot of labor when it comes to the typing and always being present at every single meeting. They actively worked very well and communicated. They also participated whenever it came to group discussions, and I found their contributions very valuable. She was an asset to us all and very good to have. I think that if I was going to give this teammate a grade, it was definitely an A+. Next, Isabella. She was very, very, very helpful in not only drafting the script, but also adding textual elements to our performance. She was always there whenever she could be. And whenever she couldn't be, she made sure to communicate. At our group meetings, she was also very present and very vocal about how we can always perform, and she was always working towards our group's best self. She, I think, was our biggest asset to our success. Next is Carter. Carter, sometimes he was late and didn't always communicate. Carter sometimes was late for various reasons he never specified. And in terms of absences, I think that he had kind of a few absences for our in-class participation. In terms of contributing collectively, he didn't always contribute, but he wasn't. He was a pleasure to have in our group. He was positive and always willing to accept new ideals. I would probably give him a B plus. Next, we're going to go on to